Welcome to FounderX podcast, season 1, episode 3. In this podcast, we have someone, for me personally, this person pushes me to go beyond my limits. This person is one of the best well wishers that I've ever had, one of the best teachers that I've ever had, one of my greatest supporters. But to go beyond that, this man who we have today is the guru of franchising for India. He has worked on over 1,000 stores. He has helped over 1,700 entrepreneurs, and their business value comes to over 500 crores. Dr. Chackochen Mathai, the founder and CEO of Franchising Rightway. Thank you. Thank you so very much for coming here, Doctor.
Thank you very much, Dakshin. It's a pleasure being with you, and I'm really happy to be with you. Always I get excited when I see you, and today you're doing a podcast of mine, and I'm really excited.
I think for us, very specifically, we've known each other for over a year right now, and this is like, this has been in the works for a long time. We've always wanted to do something. So before we get started, I want to address one thing. So why do this podcast with you? So oftentimes what happens is a lot of people, we run a lot of events, right? So a lot of people who come to our events, they hear some motivation from the speakers, they get some ideas from the speakers, they exchange cards, but nothing happens more than that. Typically, whatever they hear, it's just erased. So adanala, very specifically, we want to do podcasts with people like you. People who don't just come up with a lot of degrees, but who also want to share their knowledge. People who have experience in this industry, and you have 35 plus years of experience in various things. It's not just about one thing. So that is one main reason why we wanted to have you in this podcast.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure is mine, Doctor. So I think if I give any further introduction, it will be pretty boring. So I'll let you do an introduction for yourself.
Well, my name is Dr. Chacko. Been in the industry, franchising industry for about 35 years. Now, why is that specifics of 35 years that they're talking about? Many of us who started franchising very early in the 90s. When we started in the 90s, franchising was not a term that was very well known. And I had the opportunity to work with companies like NIT, Aptech, SSI, Cat Center, Green Trends, and Naturals. A wide variety of brands that I was able to work with. And many of the people who started off with me, once the IT industry failed, or when IT industry moved on, people left the industry and they joined, many of them joined telecom industry. That's the next bus which came after IT. Telecom was very popular, so they went into sales. And I still stuck to the same field called franchising. And sometimes it used to be like, am I doing the right thing? Because I'm not paid well in those days, very meager salaries, but then highly passionate about developing people and brands. So today I was actually talking to somebody who wanted to do a podcast next, and when I was reflecting back, why did I stay back in this industry? And today I know why am I staying back is to build legacy brands. So basically, I love franchising. The reason is because I get an opportunity to not only sell legacy brands or brands that are very popular or good brands that I sold for people in my career and made them rich. The idea of selling a franchisee is not for the franchisor to make money, but to make the franchisee rich. Only when the franchisee is rich, your brand is also growing. So my philosophy as a brand manager or a franchise manager is actually to help the franchisee to do well. And I feel joyful when I see people who make money because of the brand that I sell. That was the interest in which I continued to be in the franchising industry for the last 35 years. And I continue to develop and help franchisees to grow, not only for the franchisor, but also the franchisee. So advising them, giving them knowledge and helping them to scale their business is something that I really love to do. So that's why I got stuck into the franchising industry. Going forward, what I want to tell you is that I also have done my PhD in franchise management. That's a kind of passion that I have, because if you have an industry knowledge, but with combined with academics, makes you more a stronger subject matter expert. And that's exactly where I wanted to be in this phase of my life, where I'm actually in the last leg of my career, where I want to really give back to the society by creating Indian strong brands, which will be franchisee friendly and highly ethical brands, and not fly by night brands. And I want to tell you this, I'm not interested in developing fly by night brands, which you see today, but I want to work with legacy brands, and I want to build legacy brands. That's the reason that I'm here in this podcast.
Got it. Well, that's one hell of a strong introduction. Now, let's go back to your very basics. Now, what I want to understand is you mentioned that in the 90s, franchising wasn't a big thing, at least in India. So, my first question to you is, when did you decide franchising? This is exactly what I want to do. And how did you decide it?
My first job was in 1990 with a company called Data Software Research Company. It's still available. They are still there in number 6 Smith Road. We always call number 6 Smith Road. Is the place where I learned about sales, marketing, and business. Now, this is a company which actually was selling computer education to schools. At that time, it was not franchise. It was more sales that we used to do. And there was no marketing at that time.
Right.
Those days, sales and marketing were clubbed inside the same department. And I remember 6 years I worked for this company. And that's when I suddenly saw NIT, Aptech, SSI, CAT Center, and many other companies were mushrooming into franchising concept of education. So when I was actually taking a detour or thinking about changing my, the first job, I decided to, get into, SSI, and I was the 12th branch manager of SSI those days. In Visakhapatnam, and that's where I thought franchising is a great vehicle to build brands. We were at SSI. We were not building a franchise model. It was more a COCO model, company owned, company operated models. But then suddenly the company decided to franchise, and I was asked to come into looking at franchising at that time. Then I moved on to Aptech and NIT. These are very strong franchising companies with high values of entrepreneurship development in those days. That's when I said I like franchising. The reason is because I get to sell the brand, I get to do marketing. I am also in charge of research and development or new product development. And you're also involved in logistics where you're selling items and you're involved. So the whole P&L of a company or a franchising unit is known to you. And you feel very happy because you know every department that you work. More in those days, people will work for isolated departments. There's no in isolation that every department would work, but then in franchising, you got to work with everybody. So I'm actually a team player, and I love to work with all the teams, and I enjoyed being part of the whole network, and also seeing the brand flourish by establishing centers across, which made me very happy. So that's when I decided that I will be in the franchising space, and I have not done anything apart from franchising for the last 35 years. So I don't know anything else apart from franchising.
Got it. So, one more personal advice that I think almost everyone today needs to hear, especially Gen Zs. How did you stay consistent? How did you go through those 35 years?
I mean, recently everybody talks about ikigai. And you're talking about something which you're passionate at. So fortunately for me, I think if your word, the word very popularly now used is purpose, call on your life, purpose in your life. I was able to figure this out when I was about 30 years. Very early in my life, I figured out what my purpose was. So if somebody is able to identify their purpose, my purpose is to build businesses. That is one side of my life. The other side, you know that I'm also a marriage counselor,
Yes.
which I have not brought it out many of the times. But then that's another area of mine which I have really worked on. So a passionately building something which you really love to do. That's called ikigai, right? So I did not try to figure out what I want, but I loved people. So probably I should have been a HR professional, probably because I love people and training, leadership, coaching, and sales is something I really naturally love. So I was trained by NIS, National Institute of Sales, NIS PATA they call in those days. I'm an NIS student, so anybody from NIS would probably, yeah, they're trained, their mind is trained to sell. So beautiful, one of the best institutes in the country at that time, and I had the opportunity to study there. So, how did I stay focused and consistent is because I constantly evolved in finding out what franchising continuously needs. There are people who just sell and leave the company. There are some who will do operations. There are some who will actually try and do R&D and just get out. But for me, I wanted to know the entire nuances of the business where I am either selling or I'm doing operations or I am actually trying to help a franchisee grow the business. So I get to know this knowledge and I thought this is the best thing to do in my life, which I really enjoy. Number one, I'd like to travel. So franchising gives me an opportunity to travel across India. I traveled all over India. 16 countries I have traveled and I've seen different types of people. So I know how a Malayali behaves. I know how a Punjabi behaves. I know how a Gujarati behaves. I know how a Rajasthani behaves. I know how a Tamilian behaves and, how a Telugu behaves.
Right.
So I'm able to understand the psychology of them when I position my brand in each state. So these are some of the learnings that you don't get if you keep on jumping jobs.
Correct.
So I stayed put in the same and I focused on one aspect, which is franchising and franchising and franchising.
Got it. I think that's one very powerful lesson. There have been a lot of recent stories about how Jensen Huang, the founder of Nvidia, who has been building Nvidia for all these years. There's also the story of how Nike's CEO was started as an intern and
Yeah,
then he
exactly.
went all the way to the CEO of Nike.
Yeah.
I think these are really powerful stories. So before I step any further, diving into the more complex topics, can you break down, first of all, can you differentiate between these three things, franchising, sales, and marketing? And then can you give me a breakdown on what exactly franchising is?
Franchising is using somebody else's proven model by acquiring the nuances of the company by paying a certain fee. That's called franchising.
Okay.
Now, for example, my father had a coffee shop.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been running this coffee shop for let's say 10 years now, and it's been doing extremely well. Now, some of them probably might come to my place and drink the same coffee, and they'll say, "I love this coffee. Can I have it in?" Like for example, if I am sitting in Velachery, somebody in Ananagar would say, "Hey, I've heard about this coffee shop. If I wish I could have this one in Ananagar." So how do we do this? I can't, as an owner, put up shops everywhere because it is capital intensive. Number one, your capex will be very high, people intensive. You are supposed to manage people, resources. So you can't pump a lot of money in terms of building a ecosystem for your own brand building. The best thing to do is to use franchising as a model or a vehicle to multiply your brand and give the same taste. Look at KFC as a model, or a McDonald's as a model, or a Pizza Hut, or a any such brands. the same recipe what you get in the US you get here.
Exactly.
So it's basically practicing what you've done for the last 10 years and scaling up using franchising as a tool helps you to scale the business. That's franchising basically. What is sales? Sales is in simple terms, you're actually giving something and you're getting exchange of service or goods for monetary benefit. That is simple terms of. It's not Philip Kotler, but very simple terms. Exchange for a monetary benefit. Services or product, right? That's very simple sales. What is marketing? Marketing is making customers aware of the product or services that you have. That is actually marketing. These are all very simple terms. So if I have a product, I need to make it known to people. So today it is more easier by using an Instagram or a Facebook or a LinkedIn page. You are able to reach more customers than how we used to do it in those days. We used to walk around. I know when I was sold computer education, I used to carry 356, 456, these kind of large computers on our heads from one place to another those days. So, but today it's not. So you are able to sell sitting at your home. You have your internet. You have your Amazon, Flipkart, all these places you could sell today. So that's using effective, communication to the market to sell what your services and or products to meet the needs of the people. Very simple.
Understood. Now, can you give me an exact breakdown of franchising? Probably start with how do you know that, okay, in the business வந்து franchisee பண்ணாங்கன்னா there'd be a sure shot hit.
Many people come to me to ask, sir, I am very passionate about taking my brand to other places. Is it possible? அப்படின்னு சொல்லி கேட்பாங்க. Now, some businesses cannot be franchised and some can be franchised.
Can you give me examples?
Look at a simple concept about salon itself. Did anybody think of, franchising a salon concept? Not at all possible those days. But then it became possible because C.K. Kumaravel sir actually took the effort to actually do the franchising and see how it works. And it really worked. But there are businesses which cannot be franchised. For example, a construction business. I have not seen a construction business which is franchised. Right? Restaurants are franchised. Anything that is serviceable, people, it is easy to, or a concept that has been built, a gym, right? It's a concept. Right. It's a beautiful concept, right? And everybody needs services. So people who need your services, like if you say coffee shop, there are plenty of coffee shops. Why should people come to you? Now, Third Wave is a beautiful Indian coffee house which is started from Pune or somewhere. It's doing extremely 170 stores. How did they crack it? They cracked it by just providing very good coffee, place to do your surfing, or using that, that space for work. And that's a beautiful concept where Coffee Day has failed today. Right? It started off as a great concept, right? But then it failed because of various reasons. But then it is running now well, in the sense like they're okay right now. I just read an article saying that how it's been revived back and how it's being. But then Third Wave came and filled that gap now. Who knows? Somebody else might come today. Coffee lovers and tea lovers are plenty. Now this is a concept that can be franchised, which is minimum efforts. That's what we do, right? Look at car selling, cars. That's a franchise model, right? Restaurants, gyms, salons, and the gym equipments. So anything that can be multiplied easily with an SOP. The standard operating procedure that you could write and say, even without people, right, they should be able to run. Or when people leave, if you study the SOP, you should be able to, somebody new should be able to take over and do this business. Any such business can be franchised.
Understood. Now, coming down to your own experiences, I think some of your most successful works comes down to both the salon brands, Green Trends and Naturals. And you have scaled Green Trends to more than 300 stores, and you have took Naturals from a local Indian brand all the way to an international brand. So, my first question to you is, how did you find the right partners like CK Ranganathan sir or CK Kumaravel sir, or did they reach out to you? And how did you, and like what made you, so sure that this business would work? Because nowadays we see salons like Cheap and Best franchising coming up all over India. But I bet both Green Trends and Naturals were pioneers. So how did you know that this would work?
Very interesting question. I was on a career break, or I was actually trying to do my PhD in franchise management. So I decided to take a sabbatical and read through a literature review on various brands. So I used to do Franchise India's magazines were very good those days, and I used to pile them up with me. So I picked up all these, magazines and started reading. I would read different models and study different models. One day, a friend of mine called me and said, Anna, I want to start a business, and I've narrowed it down to salon business.
Okay.
I said, well, salon business is the upcoming business, because education of IT is over. Then came, the telecom. Then came the school business. So if you go to Franchise India shows, you will see which segment is growing suddenly. You'll find a lot of offerings. So I learn actually from these shows where I can really see how the trend is going. Now today, it's no more one particular segment. It's all segments are growing together.
Right.
Those days, it's what where education means education, school education means kids education.
It was like bubbles.
Bubbles, right? But today it's a flat, and it's growing at a very steady pace. And overall, franchising is about 35% CAGR growth. You can see as an industry growing. Actually, it's a very unique industry that is growing without any pomp and glory. So I happened to read this articles on salons, and I figured out both the brands are from Chennai.
Okay.
And I got a lot of business opportunity. I mean, people call me to work in Noida and Bombay, knowing my background. There are a lot of franchising companies who used to call me and say, "Why don't you shift?" But unfortunately, I never like to go to the north and stay there because of the weather. Not because I don't like the place, but the weather was very the extremes. So during my CAT center days, I used to travel to the north, and I have traveled all over the place. So I know the condition of each of the places. So I said, I'm not going to shift, because my kids, I don't want to put them in a place where 6 o'clock you got to push them into the bus where they'll be sleeping while coming back. It'll be very cold. I've seen kids in the north how they are suffering. I call them suffering, but then for the North Indian, it's not suffering anymore, because that's the way of life.
Yeah.
So for a South Indian, it's actually a difficult task. So I was just thinking that I should stay in Chennai, and which brand could afford me? That's the next question that I asked. I mean, there are not big players who could pay good salary to good managers in Chennai in those days. And so I was just, I never wanted to go back to work. So I thought I will, do my PhD and get into teaching, where I would teach franchising as my subject to students, and I could build, go back and just hang around in the college and share my knowledge. But then it happened that my friend said, I'm going to pay the money to Green Trends. Would you like to come and along with me to give the check? I was actually having a beard and I was very shabbily dressed because, no motivation, because I was, PhD students will be very, how they look, always writing. And so I was very casual, and I just went. I met a lady called Sarada. I want to mention this at this point of time since you mentioned this to me. She was an excellent lady in Green Trends at that time. And she looked at my friend and said, who is this guy? You have never brought this guy for the meetings. My friend's name is Abraham. And Abraham looked at me and said, he smiled. And then Sarada looks at me and says, who is this guy? Who is this guy? She wanted to know who I am, because Abraham had asked such difficult question to Sarada before taking the franchisee.
Okay.
So she said, you have been asking me tough questions. There must be somebody who is educating you.
And it was you.
And it was me. So then Abraham introduces me to her, saying that he was the head of Cat Center. He was working with Cat Center. And everybody knows Cat Center is a franchising company. And it franchised very well during my days as, 350 stores. In about 8 years, I was able to, build that brand, which was a South Indian brand, to being being a pan-India brand. And it's an education brand. When education died down with NIT and Aptech, CAD picked up at that time because we were so passionate. Because whatever I learned with NIT and Aptech, I put it in CAD Center, and I built that brand along with Partha and Selvan. So that was a beautiful time of learning everything, and I put those practices. You asked me that question, how did you decide? So I learn and I practice and I put them into action. And I want to see results happening, not just by just keep talking, right? So instead of being a talker, you be a doer. So we were able to, in Cats, and we were able to do so many things. And that's when we decided. So she put me on to my boss, Gopi, and said, I found somebody. And here is this guy. Can you interview him? They were looking for a head of franchising for Green Trends. And then I got an opportunity. Gopi saw my CV and said, I want this guy, and I will take you and put you on to Mr. CKR, Mr. Ranganathan. And I had the opportunity to go to his house, being interviewed, which is not a usual practice. That was a Sunday, and I said, I'm coming. And CKR said, come home and we'll meet. And he sees my CV, and already seen my CV. And he just asked me a few questions, and I answered them with clarity in my mind about building a brand of 1,000. So I asked CKR, what is your passion? And he said, 1,000 stores. And I said, I'm excited because I love numbers and I want to be part of this journey. And that's when I decided to join Green Trends. And CKR gave me an opportunity to experiment what I learned in all these years and was able to put them into practice. And I had a fantastic team there. It's not me alone. Number one, I always tell why legacy brands. CKR is actually a legacy brand himself. And Kevin Kerr is a legacy brand. Joining them and working together, and Green Trends is a highly process-driven company. So when I went there, I was able to see a lot of processes that I was able to set up as a team. We worked together, and fantastic team that we had. We did a lot of new things. So that's how I got to work with Green Trends in 300 stores, 2 years and 6 months.
2.5 years.
But that's something which I was very passionate. I was the only guy who was wearing a tie those days in that company. When a retail company nobody wears a tie in a retail company, but I was the only one who was wearing a tie. And I was very passionate to sell a brand like Green Trends, which was owned by Kevin Kerr, which is not known to people. So I wanted to make known that, that's what a sales point for me by saying that Kevin Care's brand is, green trend. That's a unique selling proposition that I brought into the market and said, I am selling a brand which is very powerful. And I was chasing naturals at that time because naturals were already popular and they had more outlets than us. And so it was a highly competitive market where I was in between both the brothers trying to work, helping the brands to grow. So that journey was very, very, very unique. And I remember vividly how some of our interactions with CK was world class. I mean, the thoughts, the thinking. So my next choice is to work with naturals sometime, later in life. So I had a break in career and I was completing my PhD. Once I finished and pandemic struck, I was a consultant to a couple of big brands in the country, like Aroma Magic, Blossom Culture, the Delhi-based salon products brand. And 2 years I worked with them and I was able to help them out in their journey. And after pandemic, I got into counseling, family counseling, and I did about 130 couples counseling during the pandemic time, which was very passionate for me. And I didn't want to get back to work because I was doing something very societal work, and I was, stopping divorces to happen from people who want to quit their marriage life. And my wife and I were actually helping them. That's when, my hero, CK Kumaravel, calls me up and says, "Where are you?" I said, "I'm lying down at home." Actually, I was lying down on the floor, after lunch, and then I get this call. He said, "I know you're doing something, but why are you..." See, this is very important what I want to tell you. Why are you wasting your talent? And I said, "No, I'm not wasting my time. I'm using my talent to help something else." But no, you're still needed. I was 56 at that time. A retired age, at 56, you're getting an opportunity to go back and bat again. Sometimes in cricket, once you have retired, sometimes you are called back to play for the country. I took it in that manner and I said, this time I want to play it well. So I went back to him and we both had a nice chat, a very, very friendly chat. And he's like my elder brother, actually. I mean, we have some amazing chemistry that we have. I don't know what chemistry we have, but we are like brothers. And we have some fantastic memories and, great times of working together. So he said, join in. So I joined in and he asked me to put the processes first, because I was asked to create the process because we were trying to bring back that after pandemic, and with the Association of Cat Center, they were running the business and then they split the business and they wanted to get back to the original naturals. And that's when he invited me saying that I want you to put back the processes. So what is franchising? Franchising is basically SOPs and processes. So I was invited to put processes in place so that the company could scale. The day I finished the first lot, putting up the processes, I was given an opportunity to take the brand outside the country. Fortunately, about 6 countries I was able to take the brand, and I'm really proud of being the first, COO who could take the brand outside the country. And today the brand is growing phenomenally, and I'm very proud and happy about it. In fact, one place that I wanted to do is Malaysia, and I'm glad that I'm still part of even though I'm not part of the company, that I'm sure that I'll be able to be part of the Malaysian, opening someday.
Right.
And I will also be ensuring that I will be able to do Malaysia and launch it for naturals, even though I'm not there. That's a chemistry that we have. Even though I'm not part of the team right now, but I have a lot of passion for this brand, an amazing brand which has grown significantly with the leaders, innovation and ideas of being a great marketer himself. CKK is considered to be a classy, marketer. He's a marketer by himself, and the ideas are out of the box thinker, not being glued with just one idea. Yes, processes are important. Processes are important in franchising. But then you ask the question, what is marketing? If you want to learn marketing, CKK is a great guru. You can learn marketing from him. So both of us having sales acumen and marketing, we both, as a good owner who was willing to invest onto the ideas, I think we both struck a chord. And that's when Naturals was taken to different parts of the world. And apart from that, he also gave me an opportunity to open up a new business model which is called Naturals Beauty Academy, NBA. And NBA was created by me along with the team called, I had a lady who worked with me, Malika, CKK and Veena ma'am, all of us put together. We made a beautiful education. One of the things that I thought was to have the best franchise model is to have trained manpower, which I strongly believe in. If you don't have a training center, your franchising business is not run. So I'm a very strong believer of putting processes in place. So if somebody comes to me, I said, what is your training method? I will always ask. So to do that, to create more jobs into the market, you need to have a training center. 32 NBAs were signed in 1 year. And that's history even today. And I was part of creating history in Naturals. And I'm very proud to be part of this brand Naturals, which has grown internationally. That's about it.
Indeed. I think when it comes to CK Kumaravel sir, you gave me the introduction to him, and I've personally had the honor of having a couple of chats with him. And his vision, what he thinks, the way he thinks, it's just extraordinary. So one very quick out-of-the-box question. How was it working in the middle of both the brothers?
I knew that you will ask me this question.
Were they like competing or like?
Initially, I felt like I was competing against a giant Naturals because we were just beginning to flourish, and we're just trying to set up the processes, and it's very difficult to catch up with somebody who's already crossed 100, 150. So my desire of 300 stores was hitting the that mark is like my highest franchise sign up in a month was 16 in 1 month once.
Okay.
Minimum 10, 15 I used to sign up because that's the speed at which you have to go to catch up with somebody who's already moved on, right? So it was not easy, but then we had a very good backing by Mr. CKR in terms of finances, in terms of processes, in terms of I can tell you that one meeting that we were sitting and we were saying that we need to catch up, and he said, what do you want? No, there was no owner who was asked me, what do you want? Everybody will say, you're a fool, you're an idiot, you're stupid, you're not able to make it, you don't sell well. That's what people will generally ask. But a visionary will never ask, what is that you want from me so that you can do the best? I think that's the defining moment that I had. And I said, this is what I want. And then he gave it to me. And then that's when the click started. The first ever company in the world probably to bring in an AV for hair cutting, which nobody else has done. A video ad, Kajal Agarwal was the brand ambassador at that time. How could these things, because he's from the, FMCG background, out of the box thinking, you bring in Kajal Agarwal who has signed 4, Tamil movies, and that's something which is a defining moment for a brand. Things changed, lives changed, and we hit the, so that's another story. But then you have another, style, marketeer who strategically positions. So I had the privilege of working with both the brothers. I wish one day we will have a chat with both of them, somebody asking me these questions. But then, but both of them are unique. because five fingers are not the same, right?
Yeah.
And even though, I mean, we are born the same family, but then God has given us different giftings. And so each of the giftings play around when you have the right manifestation and, kind of people who are around. So, I mean, it's a great privilege for me to work with these stalwarts in their own rights.
Got it. I can manifest having the three of you sit here and me doing a podcast with all three of you. Now, moving on, coming outside of franchising, I'd like to get your lessons from this 35 years of experience about sales and marketing. Because without these two components, franchising can't be done.
True.
So, what are your sales lessons and marketing lessons from these years?
See, my sales lesson is very simple. Don't tell lies and sell.
Okay.
Sir, we will do this, we will do that, we will do this. If you take my brand, that's what will happen, nothing will happen. Because in franchising, the franchisor has to work, the franchisee has to work. Now, if you're promising the sun and the moon and then you don't deliver, your brand will die. That's exactly what you're seeing now. One of the things that happened, I really want to thank Nia Nana for bringing out a beautiful episode on franchising. And the cry of the people I'd heard in the market today, the cry of the people, I want to tell you this, the cry of people who have lost money by promises made by managers and brands. Which is, many have lost money because I wouldn't blame, I wouldn't blame the franchisors, but I also want to blame the franchisees who went and put their money in these brands without verifying the facts of how the current business is happening, what are the kind of support that they would give, what is the brand personality, what kind of brand support that they would go, what is the managerial support that they will have, what is the marketing support. So in franchising sales, it's very important to tell the truth and sell. So all 35 years that I've never sold a product which I can't sell. If I am not convinced, I will not be able to sell the brand. So first of all, I always worked with brands which have values, ethics, and market, so that we are able to sell the right product to the right people. So that's sales for me.
Let me come up with a follow-up question on this. For most brands that you worked with, they were already grown to some extent, right? Like they had some name, probably at least 5-6 stores. Oftentimes, the new brands that I see today is they're like, hey, I've opened up one store on my own right now I want to franchise. So, what is your advice for those new people who would like to start franchise?
See, I always say experiment with your own money before taking in money from others. Now, classical example of Rameshwaram Cafe. I really like that brand, Indian brand, right? They did all the experiment by themselves and then they decided to franchise, not immediately. They put a lot of efforts by themselves, getting the processes tighter, and then, not giving the brand to every Tom, Dick and Harry. They had a process in selecting the right franchisee. That's very important. So, but then we are in the rat race in India. Every brand wants to sell to Tom, Dick and Harry who has money. And, finally get,
A bad reputation.
Bad reputation because the guy who was taking, so that's what somebody asked me today. How does your psychology background helps you to give a franchise to somebody? Well, I'm a psychologist by studies. I did my MSc in psychology, and I'm also counselor by profession. So when I do a counseling to somebody to sell a franchise, I look into all the aspects of whether this guy would really do it well or not. And I've actually rejected some of them saying that I don't think you can do this business, you can walk away. Not many would do this. Because every manager is driven by numbers. Any company which drives numbers, you will find after some time they will fall. The key thing is any franchise you're building the ecosystem, build it with strong ethics and values in the initial stages so that you build on top of them. So the question that you ask, anybody who wants to start a franchise, you need to operate let's take Chennai as an example. You have started in Ananagar and you want to bring it to, let's say, Krompet. And then you want to take it to, Chengalpet. Each of the territory behaves differently. But will you be able to know how it works? Now, a guy in Chengalpet wants your brand. Now, you are not popular amongst the Chennaites, but then, everybody, you franchise and suddenly you say, no, I mean, you don't have anything to offer them. So, proof of concept, POC, is very important. You yourself as a company should be profitable. I think you mentioned the right thing. Many of them are not profitable themselves.
They believe that they will only be profitable by the money they get from the franchise.
That is a wrong concept. Franchising is not franchisee fees. It's beyond that. So, I always tell a company that comes to me for consulting, I will ask them, do you have enough money to franchise? They look at me vaguely and said, what are you talking? We thought we will come and pull money from somebody else and make it, we will become richer. Absolutely a wrong concept. That's why legacy brands will never be built. If you want to build a legacy brand, you got to pump money first. Build your own ecosystems and then build on top of it by providing right services, right manpower, and your fantastic software. I'm right now working with a company in Singapore to build a franchising management software, which is not very popular in India. So I'm working with the company in Singapore to build this ecosystem that will manage the entire franchising ecosystem. Because that's something which, as part of my PhD, I was recommending that, there is no franchising management software. It's all, you have a software for managing the POS, but not probably the system itself. So I'm working with a company in Singapore to bring in, such a system where you are able to manage every store independently. So, that's exactly what I want to tell you, that when you build your franchising system, ensure that you are first of all profitable. Then you share that success to others rather than thinking that I will take somebody else's money and build my brand. A wrong concept.
Got it. Now, coming down to my next point, you mentioned about someone in Chengalpattu will be different, someone in Krompet will be different as compared to someone in Annanagar. So let's take brands like McDonald's and KFC, right? I've heard that they customize their menu according to the country. Like, for example, McDonald's, they don't sell beef burgers in India. But people in the US, they tend to buy the Big Macs, which are made out of beef. So, in Thailand, even have rice recipes from McDonald's. So, how do you, adapt to the particular culture?
No, well, when when McDonald's came to India, Connaught Place was the place where you find McDonald's. So I used to love to go and sit in that McD and watch people what they do. Now, as the brand evolved in India, you suddenly find tikka. Then you find paneer tikka. I was wondering how can burger with paneer tikka would come in here. But then that's what intelligence is all about. How do you survive in this market when a particular food is what is called the staple food or food which is very popular? So adapting to the need. Let me give you an example. It's a very classical example that you gave me. When I was in Green Trends, a particular franchisee used to ask me for a particular wax.
Okay.
which was very popular in the market. But as a company policy, we wouldn't use that particular wax.
Mm-hmm.
But then demand-wise, it is very popular. So I come back to the company and say, look, my franchisees are asking for these, waxes. And if you don't give these waxes, our competitors are going to use. And you're going to lose business out of it. So I had to tell my R&D team, can you continuously work on this? So we worked on this, we figured out what happens. So we applied on, we tested on some people, figured out what happens to those, what do I say? Waxes.
Wax.
Yeah, those waxes, and then finally brought into the company because it was helpful for the franchisee. Now we need to hear very clearly from the franchisee and the customer. A good company would listen to its customers.
Mm.
When you start listening to customers, then you are innovating to the need of the consumer.
Right.
Therefore, your brand is liked by everybody.
Understood.
So I think McDonald's did that, and that's why they survived in this market.
Understood. And if you take the US, right, McDonald's, they own the land on which they build their
It is
franchises.
actually called as a real estate business.
Right. McDonald's is the
McDonald's
largest
is a
real estate
business,
company.
but then that's how the business has evolved. But for me, I would always say in any of the podcasts that I do, Chick-fil-A is something which, Chick-fil-A is a beautiful company that I really love. Can you imagine on a Sunday in US, they don't open on a Sunday.
Mm.
And Saturday and Sundays are the busiest days for a restaurant in the US.
Right.
This company believes in values and ethics, where they say when everybody is at home, father, mother, and the children will enjoy that day. But if I work on a Sunday, either the mother or the father will be working and the children will be left out. As a policy, they don't work on Sundays.
Right.
What a beautiful concept. And I believe, and for me, when I read this case study while I was doing my PhD, I felt, I really fathomed the way that they have grown their business. They I think, almost 3,000 stores now, growing very strong in the US, very ethical, they're very highly motivated to do things in that place. I mean, as a brand.
Got it. And considering, we still have some time. And considering, like certain brands, like say Starbucks. Starbucks India is run by Tata, and they don't franchise.
No.
Why do you think they're doing that? And even if you take the local Tamil Nadu brand, Adiyar Anand Bhavan, they have very less franchisees, or if I'm not wrong, they don't even have franchisees. So, like, why do you think these brands are opting for that? Or do you think that it's a mistake?
No, Tata's is one of the best brands in India, right?
Yeah.
And it's a master franchise. They have taken the license for India.
Mm.
They are, in my understanding, they run Taj.
Right.
And they are in the hospitality business. Who else could be in a better position to run a brand like Starbucks?
Mm.
So that's the decision-making thing that Starbucks has done to go with Tata's. I don't know how many of them would have applied for this particular brand to be brought in. And Tata's, for that matter, they know hospitality better than anybody else. So I think it's the right place, and Tata's can invest into this brand, and it is owned by them. And they don't have to give franchisee because this is considered to be a vertical by itself, and you have a CEO for this business. And the number of stores have increased phenomenally. Initially, I think there was a young lady who was a CEO, and then she moved away, and then today I think the brand is doing extremely well in India. Because they have customized according to the Indian taste today. You find tikka there, you find even the local coffee is available.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Your
Filter
filter
coffee is
coffee is available, right? Where will you get a filter coffee in the US?
Correct.
When then that's how you adapt the market, and that's fine. I mean, they don't have to franchise, but it's a franchise brand,
Right.
even though it's from the US, right? So it is franchised to Tatas, and they have not sub-franchised to anybody. That's fine.
Got it. Now, coming down to my last few points. You mentioned that when you used to attend this Franchisee India events, you would find particular segments or sectors that were booming. So, what is booming today?
Uh, as I said, today it's a flat, segmentation. Like today, the franchising concept has evolved significantly in India,
Hmm.
and people are very aware. In those days, people were not aware of franchising. Literature is available before they come in with the chat GPT. Today people are coming with very well knowledge in terms of a brand, and they do a lot of chat GPT, prepare themselves and come and ask questions. Now if you see that, which sector is growing, for me all sectors are growing. you know if you see the salon industry, it's growing significantly one side, but at the same time consolidation is taking place. Lot of markets are growing significantly. New categories are evolving, and food, you'll find everywhere food is available. I met a young guy from Chennai called Tibet Momo.
Hmm.
I was having an kind of a casual conversation with him. Hemant is such a wonderful guy who went to Tibet and sat there for a few months, learned about Tibetan food, came back and made that recipe very popular. So he's very passionate about Tibet momos, like the real authentic, momos
Momos.
that he would sell. So there are people who are creating such brands in the market. So food is one, gyms are one, wellness is big. Ayurvedic clinics are becoming very popular. I'm working with one of India's finest Ayurvedic brand, and health sector is doing well now. If you really ask me, you will find the hospitals being franchised.
Right.
Hospitals are being franchised, diagnosis centers are being franchised, home care, home care, pet care, pet related stores are coming up very well. That's another big industry that is going to boom today. There's so many opportunities, and with people coming from different parts of the world back to India, something is going to happen. The market is ready to explode, and we are in the cusp of entrepreneurship development to the next level in India.
Right. And one question that keeps hitting my head is that what happened to the franchising industry during COVID, the pandemic? And what would happen if one more pandemic comes?
Well, nobody was prepared to face that reality because nobody knew that how a store would not exist, and people would never. We were all stuck so many months, almost 9 months we were in the house. Unfortunate that every day we'll say tomorrow we'll have the curfew taken off and we would be out. But then the businesses went down. People suffered. We were not able to do business. But then many of them innovated at that time and moved on into online services. That's when your Swiggy, Zomatos became very popular, right? Look at your aggregators like Uber and Ola, Nammayatri, so many apps that came in. So I think people are now prepared to look at an alternative in case that kind of a scenario comes in. But I was told that every 10 years you will find something now coming in like this. But I think every company should get prepared to uh, to do online and offline, omni-channel we call it, right? So we need to be prepared to face eventualities,
Hmm.
at least to survive that onslaught, and then move on into the next sphere that your business could take you. But then technology with AI coming in, a lot of things could be easier, and I'm sure that franchising industry will use AI to the next level where decision making would be much easier, products and services could be available. A lot of things could happen in the next few years.
Got it. And coming down to my last question, it's a very deep question. What was your worst failure in terms of franchising, and what was the lesson you learned out of it?
Early in my life, I vividly remember these two incidences. One, I was asked to go to Kerala to establish Cat Center as a brand.
Mm-hmm.
Now, being a Malayali, I mean, so-called Malayali, but I'm more a Tamilian sitting in Chennai, studied here. But then people thought that I'm a Malayali attached to the Kerala, But then I know Malayalam, but I have never lived there.
The
We just visited.
cultural
Culturally, I don't know
divide
much.
is
Yeah.
huge.
I'm more a kind of a person from a Cosmo culture because I was in Andhra. I married in Karnataka, so a kind of a cross-cultural stuff. But then the company thought that being a Malayali, that you would be able to go and penetrate the market. So when we advertised in those days we got a big company, a banking company, who applied for a franchise. And I said, why would a banking company apply? So, but we were excited because there are so many banks, and we thought inside the bank or next to the bank we will have some space. So we will start this cat center everywhere, and it was easy to penetrate because the managers would be easy to. That was the biggest mistake that I did in my life. We thought big company would be able to do well, and we gave this particular franchise to them, and they really failed because it was not very. It was not a big money for a bank.
Hmm.
So, because there was somebody who was interested in running some businesses, the owner decided to give the money for that guy to run a business. But then we were so stupid enough to go and sign up with a bank rather than an individual who would work for the brand. So that's one of the biggest learning. Second learning, again I made a mistake because we went to Ahmedabad. When we went to Ahmedabad, we were not able to, get local people to study there those days, in the sense CAD. Very difficult times. And we are a South Indian brand. Establishing a South Indian brand in the West is very difficult. And studies was not very popular at that time, and not many engineering colleges used to be there. But now things have changed. So we again made a mistake. We signed up the contract with one of the biggest public sector company. Now in that public sector company there was a Tamilian who was sitting there who knew Cat Center very well.
Okay.
So he suggested to them, saying that this is a very good brand in South India, we could bring it in. And his wife was running this business.
Okay.
Now we were desperate to go and sell a brand. So we thought we will take these big guys who has a lot of money. But I think they don't have the kind of tenacity that is required to run a franchising business. And this is very small money that they would make in this small businesses. So, and this is like your customer doesn't come to you, but you need to chase your customers in education business.
Right.
I think these guys wouldn't do such things, and we lost. So this is one of the biggest learning in my life, where you don't give a franchise to a big guy just because he has money, but then look. So after that, I've never given a franchisee like that. I was very clear that I would give it to a guy who's hungry for success, hungry for growth, or wanting to travel with the brand.
Someone who would take it as their own business.
So that was my learning. The other thing that I had encountered in my life was I had been to a Naxalite location where I've seen, people of that nature who were shot dead in my own eyes in Guwahati when I went. So I was actually there in the spot. I also have encountered a terrorist attack which was happening while in Punjab, while we were going from Jammu to Kashmir area those days. And these are very scary situations. And sometimes you think, do you really want to go there to establish a brand when others are not in your team are not willing to do? Who enjoyed life without going there? But then, for me, the drive of establishing a flag of a company in that place gave me joy. It's like conquering the moon where you put your flag. For me, franchising is like that, where you are establishing your brand across the globe, which excites me and makes me very happy. So I've seen different types of issues. I've also seen brands which have been, franchisees who's actually, they will remove the board and move away. And it's very emotional certain times. And seeing them pull out boards and because of conflicts. And maybe because they're not doing well too. So I wouldn't blame just the franchisee alone, but I will blame the franchisor too for not being empathetic to the franchisee who has put in their hard-earned money. So I'm deeply burdened to see brands which are empathetic. That's why I like CKK for his franchisee first or franchisee friendly approach, which is very good. But the franchisee should not take advantage of the brand for allowing them to be friendly. So
Right.
you need
A balance.
a
of
balance between both. But I think a brand that is built for more than 25 years, Naturals is a great brand with these ethos of family, franchisee friendly company, being friendly, but at the same time having ethics and values to support the customers' needs, something which I really value.
both. Got it. I think it was one hell of an interesting podcast. A lot of deep dives. So our time is officially up, but it was really great having you, Doctor. And one last mention about your book. So I believe that whatever we've had in this conversation today, I think this book contains like 10x of that. So
Well, thank you very much for reminding me of the book. This book is the franchising right way. That means there's a wrong way, isn't it?
why is that so?
Franchising, if you do it wrong way, there must be a right way, right? So that's why I said I want to name this book as Right Way, because there are lot of wrong ways to do franchising, which I'm not interested. I want to change the culture of franchising in India. I want to be an ambassador for righteous brands being built from India, not fly-by-night operators who come and give gyan to you and say, okay, you will make so much money, and then they disappear. The franchisors, and one of the things in franchisee India shows that I've seen is brands in those days. Every brand that I worked, we used to continuously go to these events. But today, a brand which comes this year is not seen next year, very
Right.
sadly. That's not franchising for me. Franchising is building an ecosystem. So that's what I have done. Franchising the Right Way is the book name, and this is available on Amazon. It's now become the category, bestseller in this category. And Mr. C.K. Kumaravel has also written one chapter of his life in this book, and we both are co-authors. And this is available on Amazon and Flipkart. And for anybody who want to actually, read a book that will give them the insight of entire, concepts of franchising, this book will help. I also do a one-day workshop with Magic Tamil, another Magic 20 Tamil. I've been doing this training program, which I have trained 200 entrepreneurs already in Tamil Nadu who have learned the right way and not the wrong way.
Got
So I'm really happy that I was able to be in this podcast, and many deep dive things you have asked me, and I'm really glad that I was able to share my life much more meaningfully in this podcast. And I'm looking forward to scaling franchising Rightway into a company which will help brands to scale in the right way.
Absolutely. Thank you so very much for being here, doctor. Thank you.